Now we've looked at a graph. Does anybody remember a test that we use to see if a graph is indeed a function? What is it called? Anybody remember? It's a line. What kind of line? Vertical. Okay, the vertical line test. The vertical line test says that if a vertical line is passed over the graph and it only touches one point of the graph at a time, that graph represents a function. Okay, so that's our vertical line test. It's not very a formal definition, but that is a definition of the vertical line test. So if we take a vertical line, we pass it over our graph, it only touches the graph at one point at a time, then that graph is indeed a function. So y'all have them graphed there on your paper. I have them graphed up here. So let's see if they do indeed pass the vertical line test. Now, their mappings and their tables seem to imply that, but the mappings and tables are kind of limited. They don't show us everything. Now, these graphs, I've got them kind of limited. They don't show us everything either, but we can see more of what's going on. We know that the pattern is going to continue. So if it passes it for this portion, it should be okay for its entire domain. All right, so I've got a vertical line here, this red line. I'm going to take it, I'm going to pass it over my graph, and I'm looking for where this vertical line touches the graph of my function. Everywhere on this linear function, it only touches it at one point at a time. So that linear, we call it a function because all linear equations are functions, but it's because they all pass the vertical line test. Okay, how about the quadratic? Let's look at this one. Okay, everywhere that I move this, it's only touching it at one point at a time, so the quadratic is a function. Here's our radical or our square root. Now I know right here it looks pretty close that it may be touching more than one part of the graph, but if we were to zoom in right there, right around 2, you would see that it does continue to curve. It's never truly vertical. It gets close, but it's never truly vertical, so we're okay. It's only touching one point at all times. And the same thing with our absolute value function here. It only touches one point at a time. So I tried to keep it simple to just a few functions, but it is important that you are able to identify a function or to identify whether a relation is a function based on its mapping, based on its table, and based on its graph. Okay, so you should be able to tell me based on those 3 things. So we're going to practice here with the